As part of the Kumu overview series, I'd like to spend a few minutes and talk about the options on the project menu. Remember that every element has its own profile, and a map also has a profile. And on the map profile page, there's a menu in the upper left-hand corner, which will appear the same on each map profile for each map that you have. Though note that this option right here, Overview, gets you to this display, which is the same display that you get to if you click on Switch Maps or if you click on the menu option down here at the bottom. So there are three ways to get to the same place. So even if you're on an element and you're looking at the profile page for the element, you can click down here on this menu and get to this set of options. Now note that the options on this menu will simply take you to specific entry points in this display. So I'm going to talk about all of them from here as opposed to from that menu. So the issues takes you one step closer to getting you into the area of the project where you can define discussions and carry on conversations. Kumu is real nice in terms of it has an integrated discussion feature so that you can create discussions as part of the project to allow people to comment on the project and capture those comments within the project. And if you look at the Kumu overview itself, you'll notice that every element has a link to a discussion about the Kumu overview itself. There aren't any posts yet, but so when people review the overview series, if they have questions or comments, they can simply post them to discussion about that particular series in Systems KeLE. Additionally, on the options there's an option to actually be able to create a presentation about the one or more of the maps in the project so that someone can simply view the presentation like a set of slides as opposed to actually interacting with the project and the elements itself. And in the future series on storytelling, we'll show how you can use that to unfold a relationship model as a story as opposed to simply dumping an entire relationship model on someone all at the same time. There's a place to define a license about your project as to how other people should use it, and this help option gets you to the same help that's available in the upper right hand corner on the map page, so that from here there's a list of the shortcuts available and links to the longer online help documentation, the Kumu blog, the Slack instance for Kumu, tweets, a place to post open issues, and the email address for support. Attributes allows you to actually control the set of, or the way that certain attributes are treated within Kumu so that you can tell it options for those attributes. And there's a longer set of options for attributes that you define as part of your project as opposed to what you can, but the level of control that you have over the default attributes for the elements, connections, and loops. You can create embed iframes for any one of your maps so that you can embed it in a web page or a blog or a wiki or someplace else to give other people access to it through some other presentation vehicle as opposed to having to go right to the project. For any public project, you can give them access simply by sending them the URL, and that will give them a link to get into the project. Members allows you to control access to the project for other people. For a personal account, you'll be able to control the member access from this panel by simply indicating other people with Kumu access to actually be able to edit your map. There's a much more extensive array of controls for members for projects within a organizational account. Also, for private projects, you might want to give, because nobody else can see private projects, you have to explicitly give people access to it if you want them to see it. Settings allows you to govern which attributes are associated with which types. In other words, with the default definition here, there are no specific element types, but for the connections, there are plus and minus for causal relationships, but those types are only relevant to connections. Plus and minus are not relevant to elements or to loops. So the utility is that if you were keeping track of, you had a map and some of the elements were people and some of them were organizations. For people, you might have attributes such as organization they belong to, sex, height, weight, a number of things, but you wouldn't want those attributes to show up on the elements that were related to organizations, which might be what company the organization is part of and what its focus is, and things that are only relevant to organizations. So that using the settings, you can say these attributes are relevant to this kind of element, and these settings are relevant to this kind of element or connection or to loop. So when you go from one type to another, only the relevant things that you defined set up. Also, trash will give you access to those things that you have deleted. When you delete an element, a connection, or a loop, it isn't automatically completely gone. It ends up in the trash. Then you can come back here and you can review things that are in the trash and destroy them individually, or you can simply dump the trash. Now, if you can have an element that appears on multiple maps. If you delete that element from one map, it doesn't end up in the trash because there's still an instance of it on a map someplace. If you delete the last instance, then it ends up in the trash. If you put an element in the trash and you want to get it back out, all you need to do is go to add element and enter the name of it, and then click on the name that shows up, and it'll pop back up on the map, and that's how you take it out of the trash. The last item, Switch Projects, takes you to your dashboard that provides you with access to all of the rest of your projects that you can select from, to the settings or to the new project option. So that's pretty much the options that are available on the project menu. You can go ahead and select different maps. If you have multiple maps in the project, you can select that from there, or you can switch perspectives. The one other thing that I didn't mention was on the settings menu, there's an option over here to change the privacy so that you can take a project from public to private or private to public. You can change the name of the project, though you want to be very careful about changing the name of the project because you may have links internally to the project which end up being broken when you do that. And you can also delete the project from here, and then it's gone. The rename difficulty, is that notice that this particular element is called Systems KeLE #Kumu overview /search. So that this is the name of the project, this is the name of the map, and this is the name of the element. If you change the name of the project, this part right here changes, And if you've given anyone a link to the project, their link no longer works. Though what there is there's an option, there's something down here on every element called a permalink. And if you look down here toward the lower left-hand corner, this is a link that is universal. In other words, it's an internal reference to the project, to the map, and to the element that actually don't change. If I copy this one, if I copy this link address and go up here and put it in here, but don't actually tell it to go there, notice that this is map number 4046. No, it's project 4046. This part is the unique map identifier, and this is the element identifier. So that those pieces are internal, and if you change the names, they won't change. So if you gave someone access to this URL, even if you changed the project name, it would still work. I understand it's a little complicated. With it grows on you over time. So that's information about what? Where was I? Oh, the project menu in the Kumu overview, and there's a link to this particular map in Systems KeLE in the notes section for the video. And I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.